Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. My name is Alex Sakaguchi. I lead the solutions marketing team over at Veritas, and very pleased to be here during this live think tank session where we're going to be talking about the latest with NetBackup 9 and FlexScale. We're joined by two of our expert product management folks today. I'll give them a second to introduce themselves in just a minute. I want to make sure that all of you folks know that this is meant to be a very interactive session. Please submit any questions that you might have coming out throughout this session via the chat, or you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question yourself. Either way is good. Encourage, again, lots of participation. These are definitely some industry experts here in Tim and Greg. And I think we've got 30 minutes for this session, so let's make the most of it. Over to you, Greg, for intro.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here with my peer, Tim Burlowski, our partner in crime for all things data protection across the NetBackup portfolio. So Greg Nuss, I'm Senior Director of Product Management at Veritas. I've been with the company on and off for most of 10 years. Had some experience in some other places as well, but super excited to be here as part of our launch activity and happy to chat with everyone here today. So Tim, it's great to be with you.
Oh, thanks. I've been here 22 years. Unlike you, I didn't leave for a period of time, but I got to tell you, I just did some recent work with HR and said, how many people are back at Veritas in the last 2 years? And the number I got was 179, which is a great, and that doesn't count our CEO, Greg Hughes. That's just a great validation of Veritas is back.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to be back. It's a very exciting culture to return to. I did leave for a couple of years, left, built a couple of things at a couple other product companies, but also spent some time inside a Fortune 5 IT organization, which really gave me some really interesting insights into what goes on inside the and the challenges that our customers face every day.
Yeah, and when I think about Fortune 5 and the big customers, you and I are on a lot of Veritas EBCs, where we get to talk to the biggest IT shops on the planet. And from your perspective, what have you been hearing about what they're needing and what we're delivering that jumps out at you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you and I, Tim, are on a lot of Zoom calls these days with customers from all around the world, and there's always a couple of common themes. Of course, they're always interested in their journey to the cloud and our tools and capability to help them on that journey and making sure that we can maintain their data protection profiles regardless of where their data lives. That's always a very large topic today. And then the other topic that really comes about oftentimes unprompted is really the one around data protection, security, compliance, and specifically ransomware. Ransomware is making headlines all over the world, and it's really impacting a lot of our enterprise customers. And having a holistic strategy like we have, starting with our what came out last summer with our A3 release, and even moving forward into NetBackup 9 and beyond, is really helping give customers the confidence and safety they need in protecting that infrastructure. So it's super important. So really enjoyed everything we're launching here this morning, Tim. I particularly enjoyed the keynote, and you spent some time talking about, as we talk about scale out and scale up and flex scale. You're talking a lot about ducks and horses and the size of ducks and the size of the horses. Can you expand upon that a little bit for us at all on that?
Well, that was just a bit we played for comedy. And by the way, I went off a video real quick because I was getting some indication that I was having choppy audio in the chat. So hopefully that'll help us out here. First of all, the heritage of that question, it's a Reddit question. Celebrities around the world, everyone from Bill Gates to Barack Obama has answered this question at one point or another. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 1,000 duck-sized horses? It's a complicated question if you really think about the strategy, but in some ways it reminds me of scale up versus scale out. Scale up, which what we've traditionally done in NetBackup and with our appliances, has been a bigger monolithic kind of thing. Now, the good news is if you're thinking about managing one highly available big thing is quite easy. But then when you think about what people have done, is they built internet scale devices, or internet scale services, I should say. They often build them out of individual small pieces. Google's infrastructure is a set of relatively small servers, but millions and millions and millions of them then act in a coordinated pattern. And so, as we've developed our scale out solution, it's the same thing. It takes multiple servers, really makes them act to the world like they're giving one service in the end, which is a data protection service, and highly coordinated. And so that's kind of the story behind the deck size horse commentary earlier. But really, it's an analogy for delivering to our customers in some way. Now, the good news is we're not making you manage it like a flock of 1,000 ducks, which is definitely unmanageable.
Well, that's a great call out, and sometimes you, depending on continuing with the analogy, if you're going to fight those things, I guess it depends what weapons you have. And as it relates to IT, it seems that for those that are out promoting scale out solutions as the be all end all solution to all of their IT problems, every scale out hammers isn't solved by it isn't being taken care of by that nail in IT, because there's more problems than just nails there, right? So, with our launch, we continue to be able to provide customers the best of both in terms of those architectures, right?
Absolutely true. And that's one of the things people ask me many times, both internally and externally. Tim, are we still going to offer today's appliances? Are we still going to offer NetBackup the way we do? And it's absolutely true. We're going to preserve choice. That means you can install NetBackup on your own server. You can choose to consume it as an appliance offering. You can choose this new scale out version. You can install it in a virtual machine on premise or in the cloud. You really have your choice. Now, there's unique advantages of each, but sometimes I get asked questions that seem strange, like, hey, I want a scale out version for my remote office, maybe 30 terabytes. Well, 30 terabytes is just a couple of hard drives. I don't know why you need 4 server heads or 3 server heads to manage 30 terabytes worth of data. So I kind of look at that and say, is this the right choice? And that's what it is. We don't offer one size fits all. It's the right size.
Absolutely. So that's we've got a lot of other cool capabilities coming in NetBackup 9 as well. I just want to mention it as has already been mentioned, that really focus on hybrid multi-cloud architectures. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very predominant topic in our conversations we have with our customers today. And what we're delivering for proof points around what we're just released with our Openstack capabilities is one proof point where customers embracing Openstack for those large private cloud setups where they really don't want to go with a commercial offering, but bring in and build out their own stack using that open source technology, and being able to have a very robust native way of protecting that is resonating very well with a lot of our customers. So it's very exciting.
Absolutely. Well, you said OpenStack. What about what were you seeing there?
About what? You broke up there,
Oh,
Tim.
what are you seeing with containers in general? What are customers saying to you about containers?
Yeah, containers are starting to pick up some steam. Like every technology inflection point, and we've got customers on the call. I certainly welcome any questions they have on this as well. But we see a lot of hype from the industry, a lot of industry articles out there promoting it, and it has a lot of advantages for giving customers that choice and flexibility of deployment where they want to put those containers. And by virtue of NetBackup having a compelling way to protect that is really really important, and they're very interested in being able to handle the persistent storage elements of their container infrastructure there. So,
if we got any questions.
Yeah, so just to let folks on the audience know, unlike a lot of the other sessions that you've might have participated in today, this is a live think tank session, really Q&A. Tim and I do not have a prepared script. We're right up here just giving you all of our words of wisdom about what we're seeing in the market, but really intended to just foster some thought and questions from you all. So please, if you have any specific questions.
So I've got one here, Greg. NetBackup has a modern web UI. The customer, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, I'll screw it up, but he says, I would love the ability to put more of my own information into the UI, custom fields for assets or jobs and policies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great great feedback. You know, we've got along with our UI, we have a very robust set of APIs that can be leveraged under the covers for bringing that into the operational mode. So while we don't necessarily have specific customized widget capabilities in the UI today, there are ways we can help our customers engage with them on making sure that their UI experience is correct for their environment.
You know, and the other thing I'd mention, Greg, is Aptar. So Aptar can be integrated with an inventory management system on your side, and you can add those extra fields in there, which allows you to do some really cool things like chargeback, or sometimes what they call shameback, like, wow, you used a lot of data last month, what's up with that? And that allows you to get your own data into the system that you're relying on for data protection.
Yep.
Hey, just along those lines, real quick, Tim and Greg, I think just drawing back on a conversation we were having earlier, Tim, I think you had mentioned that these days more and more you're seeing some of our backup administrator audience introducing themselves as software developers as well. So maybe along the same lines there, we could touch a little bit on the IT automation topic, because I think that's an extension of maybe the question that Greg you just tackled. And maybe we could expand on that for a little bit.
Good point, Alex. And I always think of leading edge and trailing edge. Not everyone's in the same place, but it was a big surprise to me that NetBackup engineers I've known for a decade plus introduced themselves differently on a phone call. And literally, they described themselves as a software developer, and their primary job was to automate NetBackup. And this particular customer, you know, is doing 100% of their onboarding of new data through an on-demand portal. And what that means is, you know, every month as they add their 500 or 700 different clients for data protection, they're doing it in a hands-free way. This is not a single click, this is not 5 clicks, this is 0 clicks, because they have an automated process to do that using the APIs we've developed in NetBackup. This is a game changer, and I've seen other customers showing off their portals where they've taken our APIs and built it into other internal processes, which is exactly what we're looking for customers to do, because I think that's where IT starts to add a ton of value and really be able to provide a different service level to those internal stakeholders.
Good point. Yeah, another question came in, Tim, while you were mentioning is good around flex scale and our plan for supporting immutable storage there and extending our immutable storage capabilities. Do you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, immutable storage is a part of almost every conversation. People are obviously, I think, fearful about ransomware. And we added in 8.3 support for immutable storage, both in our Flex appliances as well as OST partners. So we were very excited about that. We will continue to add that in future releases of FlexScale. They won't let me comment on futures beyond that, but you can bet that is the most important feature in our roadmap for later. I'll just say later.
I think the question does, though, hit on a really poignant topic, though, right? I mean, you guys talk about these customer meetings that you're having. I'd wager that probably 100% of those customer meetings have some form of ransomware or security-related, point of conversation in terms of the NetBackup environment and whatnot. So, how are we addressing that, and what's been our focus there? What's available today for customers, and what can they look forward to?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll step back. Thematically, we are actually taking a very holistic approach on how we're addressing ransomware across three key pillars. We think about: protect, detect, and recover. Right. So we want to, you want to be able to try to detect any anomalous behavior coming into your environment. We have tools today to help you do that. In capabilities with Aptar and the like tools. We're actually integrating some of those natively into NetBackup, and then protection, of course, is where the elements of things like immutable storage that Tim was just referencing come into play. The overall hardening of the actual operational environment of that, and then being able to recover quickly. And whether it's recovering specific application environments very quickly at scale is something we've been very good at for a very long time. But we're also starting with a release last summer, integrated a resiliency platform into NetBackup as well. So from a disaster recovery perspective, quite frankly, if you think about a very widespread ransomware attack, it's effectively a disaster, right? So being able to recover that with a very orchestrated approach to how you're bringing your environment back and doing so quickly, the quicker you can do that means really saving significant numbers of dollars for our customers by the minute when they're down from a ransomware attack. So we're looking at all of those pillars with that. And Tim, I'll let you comment on some of the specific things that we've got today and what we've delivered so far.
No, it's a great answer. As I look at it, we've been, thinking about security on the appliances for a long time, and a very multi-layered approach, starting at the operating system, going into our intrusion protection and detection. We even took it to Black Hat to ensure that even hackers couldn't get into the system. And in the latest releases, we've actually incorporated SE Linux, which is a set of capabilities around mandatory access control for that I think will continue to pay benefits for our customers in terms of how nimble we can be with threats. From my perspective, it's all about thinking through the whole picture, meaning for NetBackup, it's access control and roles and audit trails, and it is our ability to send information across the wire in an encrypted fashion and store it in an encrypted fashion. So we have a solid end-to-end solution, and we don't make you acquire a lot of bits from other vendors to make it work for you and your environment. Now, this will be an area where we continue to invest as the threat landscape evolves. I'll point out one other thing. There was a question about flex scale and immutability. Of course, flex scale is just part of the NetBackup family. What that means to us is it interoperates with existing components in the NetBackup family. So you could have a flex scale storage pool storing data for production use, and then send it off for an immutable copy on Flex itself using AIR or our optimized duplication technology.
That's great. Tim, I was actually going to drive us back to there. There was a related question that was around can NBU appliances flex scale interact with existing NBU environment? But I think you pretty much touched on that, unless there's something else that you might want to expand there.
No, it sounds like you've got it, and it is absolutely compatible with NetBackup because it is NetBackup. That's how we get there. And while there may be a few features here and there that we're still in the process of qualifying, at this point, in general, it's just NetBackup in a new deployment model.
Absolutely, and a great extension to the overall appliance product family. And the other key thing, Tim, might be worth commenting on is how the how the consumption model for FlexScale is changing from our classic appliance business. I don't. Do you want to hit on that a little bit?
Sure. This is a new concept for us, meaning before, when you bought an appliance from Veritas, it was literally, something that we had manufactured at a contract manufacturer that has, it is a Veritas appliance. In this case, we went to market in a model with HP. And HP is just the first of a few select vendors we'll be utilizing, where we're meeting in the channel. And so we have a defined HP bill of materials, which is purchased through HP's channel, the way you purchase today. And it comes with the ISO on it. It's got a Veritas badge on the bezel, but this is a basic HP device, which will be serviced by HP devices. Now, the key that you have to understand is this is something we are, have benchmarked. We know what the performance is. We know what the characteristics of this box are, and we take the first line of support. So when you have a question, Veritas handles that for you. And if it turns out you've got a broken hard drive or some other failure in the actual hardware, we'll ship that off to HP, and they'll send out an HP technician to solve that very quickly.
Yep, great. It's a very exciting new model. I've talked to a lot of our customers that quite of our large enterprise customers, they start the conversation and go, by the way, we're an HP shop. And we're like, hey, we got the solution for you. Coming out of the gate, that was the first vendor that you guys started to work with on that. So that's terrific.
Absolutely. And we're working with other vendors now as we speak to expand that portfolio.
Yeah. I did see another question come across the chat around RBAC and what our plans were there. I did want to call out that we actually increased the granularity for RBAC in our A3 release. We updated that. And then in 9.0 that we're just rolling out, we added role templates for RBAC. So those are a couple of the key highlights. If you have some very specific questions on RBAC or anything security, I'm certainly happy to connect folks up with the right subject matter experts on that as well. Any other key themes you're seeing come across there, Alex?
Pretty specific. I mean, there's one for you, Tim, specifically. I'm not sure if this is the right venue given the time that we have to dive this deep, but maybe there's something at a high level you might be able to touch on here. It's about flex scale sizes and different markets. I think the question specifically is, why would Veritas not offer a 100 terabyte four node system with 1U server config or similar? I think maybe in general, we might be able to touch a little bit on the flexible deployment models overall that we offer via NetBackup, and then maybe we can talk about how we do some of the smaller environments as well.
That's a great question, Alex. And I'd say at this point, nothing is truly off the table. And so it's certainly possible for us to scale this model up and down. And so, we are at this point of really servicing 448 terabytes of usable storage through about 1.9 petabytes. So that's a big, healthy swath, but it is squarely in the enterprise market, meaning if you only need to protect 100 terabytes of data, you'd say, well, that's too big. So we can certainly scale it down. It's not in our immediate plans, meaning you won't hear anything about it next week. And the way we look at it is a sort of a function of hard drives. So you get to the end of this year and 16 to 20 terabyte hard drives become, a more dominant form factor. And so you kind of go, well, if I need to protect something as 100 terabytes, is this the sweet spot? We have great scale-up solutions. We have great build-it-yourself solutions, whether you want to put that on hardware or virtual machines. And from my perspective, I think that's probably the easiest and most cost-effective way to meet your needs at the 100 terabyte model. Now, again, we're customer focused. So if there's demand, we can absolutely bring it down to smaller form factors. It's relatively easy, and major server vendors have lots of choice for us there.
Yeah, a couple of things. Thanks for that, Tim. I think Dan is also on this on this call. Dan Sandin, he's one of our ransomware experts, but wanted to reiterate a comment he posted in the chat. For any other questions that are ransomware specific or security related, we do have another ransomware session that's happening at 2 Central. Might be another place to get some good insight and ask some good questions. Moving on from that, though, I think I'm trying to sift through some of these questions to hit ones that are particularly relevant. Trying to not give you a yes or no question, Tim, but I'm finding some difficulty here. It's a pretty specific question. Does FlexScale support SAN backups for VMware or only NBD?
There's one follow-up, Alex, might be worth mentioning on FlexScale. When you were talking about the the reference architecture deployment model there, Tim, the question came about how the support works relative to our classic NetBackup appliances. Is it the same or is it different?
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. So let me answer a couple of questions there. So first of all, how is the support model? Again, the key is the support is offered by Veritas. You always call Veritas first, and then we dispatch HP as necessary. There was a question in the chat, which I think is also implied around, what tools do I use to monitor things? And the HPE's ILO functionality is fully available, fully licensed, fully part of this solution. So if you use those tools and you're familiar with them, you still have full access to them. And then I think I lost your last question, Greg. What was the last question?
No, you hit it. Just how is the support model differ from our classic appliances? So you mentioned HP obviously is kind of backline support. Veritas is covering you up front. We're the first person you call, but what happens after that?
Understood. So what happens after that is we do a warm handoff with the data to HPE, and then HP handles it from there, including their technicians. Worldwide.
So that is different than what we're doing with our classic NetBackup appliances, correct?
Exactly. We use a contract vendor to provide that last mile, sometimes called man in the van with the parts, and so it's a different model. I think the other question was about SAN backups versus network backups for VMware. Initially, we're supporting network backups for VMware. The SAN-based transport is something that's roadmap, so they won't let me talk about that, but again, it's a very high priority for us. We know a lot of people are invested in that. The flip side of that is it's a scale-out solution. So, you start to think about 16 nodes all zoned to the same storage. It can be a little cumbersome, and so we need to make sure that that is simplified for customers. I'll tell you just my personal view at this moment, and I'd love feedback. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can use your own sales team to get a hold of me if you're a customer. I'm seeing more network build-outs, meaning I'm seeing people saying, I'm building a new data center. It is going to be IP only, and they're thinking about the world of 25 gig, 100 gig networking, and maybe not building out a lot of future SANs. Now, the real world is nothing ever disappears. I always say washboards and washing machines both exist at the same time, and people talk to me about scale out at the same moment they're having a mainframe discussion. So it's all there, and if you have a big SAN build, you're not getting rid of it, right? So we want to make sure we can support those environments so we can be relevant, because we don't want to force a one-size-fits-all solution on you.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Yeah, as we're just a lot of themes around FlexScale. People are obviously very excited about it coming up, which is terrific. So it's not a surprise that we're getting lots of questions along those lines today.
I think it seems to be like there's a little bit of confusion and understandably, I mean, we just made the announcement today, right? But a lot of the themes I'm seeing are treating FlexScale as almost as if it's something different than the rest of the NetBackup environment. I think the point here being, the flexible deployment options scale out just became a reality today, but you've been able to leverage NetBackup in multiple different ways for many, many years. There's no difference really in terms of strategy with the announcement of FlexScale. Would you agree, Tim? I mean, this is one more option for customers that they can consume NetBackup, but it's still overall NetBackup, right? You can deploy it in whatever method makes sense. I think there's probably no one else that supports as many deployment options as Veritas does with NetBackup as well. Can you comment on that real briefly? We have literally about 1 minute left. And before you do, and I'll leave that last note with you, just as a reminder to folks, apologies first off, we're not going to be able to get to every single question, but there are, you can definitely reach out to us via the platform, LinkedIn, your own Veritas sales team is another option, and we can make sure that we get answers to your questions for sure. But thank you for joining the session. Let me turn it back over to you, Greg and Tim, and maybe you can touch on that last point, and then we'll wrap.
All right. Well, thanks for the prompting to keep it short, Tim. The beginning and end of this solution is NetBackup. it is NetBackup through and through. Now, we've done a lot of cool stuff to simplify things like catalog of deployment and day-to-day management, but it's NetBackup plain and simple. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. Over to you, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And this is really an extension of the myriad of ways you can deploy NetBackup. I'm kind of at the heart of the core software side of NetBackup, where customers are still deploying NetBackup on build your own media servers and master servers, and they're running those right alongside our very robust portfolio of appliances. And now with FlexScale, it's just it's another duck like horse in the mix of all the other little ducks. I don't know. So the flexibility is there is kind of where I want to leave it.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Tim, for sharing your expertise and your time. Appreciate everyone who joined the session as well. Make sure to reach out on LinkedIn or through one of the other methods that I mentioned. Otherwise, check out the other sessions. There's a ton of content that we have for you, as well as our guest speakers. And have a fantastic day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.